DNVR Broncos live, coming to you from Studio C, as we will be for a little bit here as we renovate the bar and our studios up there. Excited for you guys to see the reveal once that's all done. But today the C stands for, can you believe it?
Can I believe what?
Can you believe the numbers are out for Russell Wilson's over-unders on DraftKings Sportsbook?
I can't believe it. I told you yesterday that I spent all of the Avs goodness money on NFL futures, but they didn't have any Broncos stuff. Like there was no like Russell Wilson stuff. So I'm very excited to spend the rest of my money on all this.
Yeah, this is exciting. And we'll get to that in just a second. Also want to remind you guys, Zach out of town this week. He's like in Italy and France and
He's
all
over the
these
place.
other places that it looks like he's having a great time. If you haven't been following him on social media, it's a very Zach experience right now.
He's having the time of his life.
He really is. So he will be back next week. Until then, it's me and Hank. And you're still in Montana.
I am about to go get on a boat. Oh my goodness. We were hiking last night. Not like big time hiking, but just like there's some trails back over there. Mosquitoes everywhere because it was like flooded up here a couple weeks ago. It was unbelievable. Like I was just walking by my mom and there were just 50 mosquitoes between us. It's like we have to stop. Like this is terrifying.
Yeah.
I've only found one bite so far, which is unbelievable. I thought I'd have at least like 15, but that put a damper on things.
It's so funny. I'm so glad you segued this for me, because I had a take and I just wasn't sure where I should reveal that take, and you just gave me the perfect opportunity to reveal this take, which is, in most cases, I would trade 5 to 10 mosquito bites for not having to smell like bug spray for the rest of the day.
Wow. Interesting.
I hate the smell of bug spray, and it's one of those smells, and that's probably the point of it, is the smell keeps them away.
Yeah.
It's the smell never goes away. It is on you until you shower, no matter what.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like we got back. It's like, okay, preventative. I gotta take a cold shower, see if we can like settle the skin down, and that worked well because I washed off all of the bad things. But then also just cover myself in Benadryl. Like I was just like white with Benadryl. I looked like somebody like an old man at the beach. Honestly,
We're
like just because it's just covered.
we're talking about like topical Benadryl.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I was actually so we have like the ointment kind, but also the spray kind. I
What
was like,
about
I'm
like
gonna
the
put the
pills or the drink?
Oh no. Well, we have those too, but this was way too serious for that. So I just wiped the ointment all over. I was gonna spray down all over myself too, but I was like, let's not get weird here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be kind of weird.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just really hate the smell of bug spray. And like there's a certain level. Like if I was with you last night, give me the whole can. I'm dousing myself. I'm throwing in the towel. But if
Uh-huh.
I'm only getting like a couple bites, I'm like, yeah, this is fine.
I know. Well, it was wild back there. It was just wild back there. Like my mom on the way back, she was behind me, and I just had to run because she was like walking with her walking stick. She's not a runner, and sometimes with all those bugs around you, the only thing you can do is just sprint away and hope they don't try to follow you. But she was just getting swarmed because she was just like walking along, and it was the same bugs for probably an hour, just all over. And I felt bad for her, but I just ran away.
Yeah, that's tough. You gotta go no mom left behind.
I know, but I kind of did. It was like who's the guy with the blanket and peanuts who like has the smell coming off him everywhere?
Oh, I almost had it there. Something with an L, maybe?
Linus is not
Yes.
him,
No,
but
not Linus.
he's not like bed bug. It's yeah.
Okay, yeah, just let it go.
But she looked like it because there's just like swarms everywhere. It was unbelievable.
Jeez. Well, I'm glad you made it out safe.
Thank you.
I made it back to Denver. It's nice to be back in the city of champions, um, and the home of the Broncos. And so let's talk a little Broncos here, because something fun happened yesterday, as I said at the beginning. Also, by the way, everyone in the comments that doesn't live in Colorado is roasting me right now, saying like, "Dude, you don't get it." which is probably true.
Yeah,
My sister dropped a West Nile virus reference the other day. I was like, wow, what a
really.
throwback.
That
Um,
kid from Peanuts, his name is Pigpen.
Pigpen. That's pretty close to bedbug, which is what you had.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that.
Oh, then now it's rolling into the comments. Linus has the blanket. Pigpen has the
Oh, yep.
bugs.
A lot of Pigpens in the comments.
That's kind of. I feel like Pigpen is a messed up name for someone.
I mean, if you're
Or
gonna
like,
look like that and be smelly everywhere, yeah, you kind of deserve it.
not a little kid. That's bullying.
Uh, Tell
I
him to
think
smell better.
if you have like a buddy who's like 320 and is just a house and also happens to like work on a farm, like Pigpen, that's a dope nickname for them.
That would be, especially if he smells kind of bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so futures dropped yesterday. I think that's the first time I've seen it. And I should say player totals, which these are always the
Yep.
most fun to talk about because they get the most specific. So we're gonna go through Russell Wilson today, and you've got yards and touchdowns. Is there anything else? I don't think they probably have rushing yards for Russ. Oh, and interceptions. That was the
Okay.
third one. So let's go through this and kind of talk this out. Once again, I feel like we might disagree here. So
Interesting.
we begin with passing touchdowns, where Russell Wilson has his line already.
Oh, I couldn't hear. I
Can
missed
you
some
hear
of
me?
that. What was the line at?
Okay, have you seen it? Do you know the line?
No, no. So I was
Oh,
going to look, and then I decided that I was just going to figure out what I expect from him. So I went through and like looked at the stats and was like, okay, I think that he's going to be a little bit better here. He's going to play like this many games, that sort of stuff. So I came up with my whole stat line without looking, so that I would be totally unbiased.
wow, I love that for you.
Thanks.
Um, I kind of already had like Zach and I have talked about his career stats so many
Mhm.
times that I kind of already had a line in my head just throughout the season. So I guess I'm kind of the same. The passing touchdowns are set at. Do you want to guess first?
I have him at 35.
Okay, great. That's exactly where I had it. And the line is generous, 31 and a half.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you got to take that. Again, I mean, older quarterback, might miss a couple of games, and that's the one thing you really worry about with all this stuff. And I wonder if like if you could turn off injuries like you can in the video game, then maybe that line's at like 33 and a half. But I mean, he hadn't missed games before last year, so I'm happy taking that 35.
Yeah, and I mean, I said this. So we talked about this on bets a little bit yesterday, and I said I would take it. I would take the over all the way up to 34 and a half. 35
Exactly.
and a half, I would be saying like, okay, that's a lot. And the reason being, these are his stats over the last few years. We're going to throw out last year because he didn't play that much, even though it was still awesome, 25 to 6. Um, but in 2020, he threw for 40 touchdowns, 40 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. 2019, 31 touchdowns. 2018, 35 touchdowns. 2017, 34 touchdowns. So if you're keeping track at home, 3 out of the last 4 seasons in which he played every game, he has gone over this number. The other one, he fell a half touchdown short.
And those are 16 game seasons, not 17.
And that's exactly what Andre said. And on top of that, that's a Pete Carroll offense that in my opinion, never seemed to utilize Russ in the right way. It was a lot of, we're going to be stuck in our ways the first 3 quarters and then let you, pull the ripcord in the fourth quarter, much like Dan Reeves and John Elway back in the day.
You do wonder if the Broncos are just going to be feeding Melvin and Javante once they get down there. That part does scare me just a little bit, but I've still got it 35.
Yeah, that's the thing is like 35 would be an above average season for him, but nothing
Yep.
crazy. I guess it would be tied for his second best season ever. So that's more than
Yeah.
above average. Um, but he's shown us that 40, he's capable of 40. And the question would be, did he have like so that year where he throws for 40 touchdowns? That's like Tyler Lockett at his best,
Yep.
DK Metcalf at his best. No tight end to speak of, really.
Totally.
And so you look at that and then you say, like, can this receiving group be more dynamic than that? And I would say the answer is very much yes.
Yeah, Nick Kendall, he tweeted out. Is he Mile High Huddle? I think he's Mile High Huddle.
Yes.
Yeah, so Mile High
Friend of
Huddle.
the
I was
program.
friend of the program.
Good job.
He quote tweeted a thing yesterday. I think I can't remember who put together the stats, but basically said that Seattle's receivers got the least separation, or they were covered up the most in the league last year. Meanwhile, the Broncos had at least one player with separation, maybe like the fourth or fifth most in the league.
Okay.
So that's good.
Yeah.
That'll
Yeah.
help.
Big. That's big time. Was it Jerry Judy?
So it's like a team thing.
Oh,
It's like
on each
percentage of plays where
passing play did a
yeah, so like what percentage of plays was every receiver covered? And for Seattle, they had the most. And the Broncos are
wow.
like the fourth fewest. Yeah.
Now the caveat there is that DK Metcalf is probably the best receiver well covered in the NFL, or at least top 3.
That is the thing. Yep.
And that results in touchdowns, because the closer you get to the end zone, the more coverage you're going to be.
Hmm.
So that's the one thing there is like DK went crazy that year, and Russ obviously went crazy with it. But you just think a healthy Cortland Sutton can make a lot of the plays that DK was making for Russ.
Yep. Over 31.5, I really like.
So it was 10 to Lockett, 10 to Metcalf, safer, Broncos legend, and 4 to Chris Carson. No T even in the top 4. Great stuff
Yep.
from Jose.
Great stuff
Um,
from Jose.
so I think we're in lockstep here. This is an easy over, um, and the only thing, and I'm touching wood profusely here, or repetitively here. The only thing that stops that is injury, and that's something that has not at all been an issue for Russ in his career until last season.
Yep. Again, like that is the thing that happens with older players is they get hurt more. So maybe that's a trend or something. But yeah, I'm totally with you. That's I don't I'm not worried about it.
Finger on the helmet in the follow through is just not gonna worry me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that's like you actually worry about it all the time because it can happen to any quarterback on any play. Um, but the
Hmm.
the point being, that's not any sort of sign of things to come, in my opinion.
Yeah. Totally.
All right, where one thing that I need to acknowledge here is I often say I don't like to bet on touchdowns. And the same thing I say in hockey is I don't like to bet on goal scoring. And the same thing I say in baseball, I don't like to bet on home runs. The reason being is it's just kind of unpredictable. And even though I feel like over the course of a season that's a good bet,
Hmm.
one thing that I feel is more predictable is passing yards.
Yeah.
Because you don't it's sort of like shots on goal in hockey, which is the number one thing I bet on. It's just like, okay, you just have to be like moving in the right direction, if you know what I mean. And I feel like it's a little bit more predictable to decide how many passing yards Russ is going to have. And this one I actually haven't seen yet. So I wish I wouldn't have seen it and I would have guessed. Um, but I'll let you go.
I've got him with 41-71,
Whew.
which is what? That's the third most in his career if it happens. But in terms of pace, because you have the 17 games, it'd be around fifth.
Right. Right. Okay. Um, very, very good line set by you there. The line for Russ is 4,100 and a half.
I got the over.
Yeah, and I think I have to take the over here as well. And it's again to me. So this is something that I know that I guess I don't think we see eye to eye on. I really think that this is going to be a pass heavy offense, and I think that the
Mhm.
run is essentially going to be there as a setup piece. It's just there to make you think about it, and in a lot more than like the Chiefs are doing it or the Bills are doing it, but still there to make you think about it so you can get a lot of play action off, which I think is going to be the main staple of this passing offense. And Sean McVay has been saying it for years. You don't even actually have to run the ball for play action to work. Um, But I think the Broncos will run the ball enough for play action to be even more successful, more effective. But I really think that this is a pass happy offense, and I just look at what Nathaniel Hackett did with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and I think what he, I said this yesterday. What he's here to do is obviously coach a football team, but also just like make the quarterback happy. It's like happy wife, happy life, happy quarterback, happy football team. And I think that's what Nathaniel Hackett is going to do. He is going to let Russ cook, and because of that, I would probably take this all the way up to over 41.99.5. Like I think he throws for 4,200 yards.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair bet. Yeah, and I expect a little bit more running. It's tough because we kind of saw two different eras in Seattle. The first half, it's kind of the Marshawn Lynch, like the Super Bowl season. The Seahawks are fourth in rushing and 26th in passing. It's like,
Wow.
okay, you just ride Marshawn all the way through. Now they've been successful since then, and they haven't run nearly as much. Maybe not that level of success, but I do think that when you have the running backs that the Broncos have, you want to use them. And on top of that, like if you're just playing the odds, these receivers, we all think that they've just not been given a fair shake, like that they're a lot
Yep.
better than their stats would indicate. And there's probably a 75% chance you've got I don't know, top 10 receiving core, top 15 receiving core, somewhere around there, maybe closer to top 10.
Yeah.
But
I'd
there is
say
that
top
25% chance that, Cortland's a 1,100 yard guy, which is a good player, but you wind up with 30 guys with 1,000 yards every year. That Jerry just isn't quite there. That KJ's nothing special. That Tim Patrick's putting up another 900, and all of a sudden your strength really is in the running game. So that combined with the fact that I think that there is a real chance that they want to just run the ball and build off the run to really set up everything deep. I do think that at the end of the season we'll be saying like, yeah, it's a running team or a team that builds off the run. Again, like, does that mean they run the ball half the time? No, nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, true. I want to look at something really quick. 4,200 divided by 17. That's 247 passing yards a game. Now, whenever you do these averages, it always seems really easy. It's like, what do
Yeah.
you have to average 42 yards a game or something to rush for 1,000 yards? Like, it's nothing crazy. Um, it's more about consistency, but at the same time, 247 yards. I think Russ is gonna put up multiple 400-yard games in just shoot AFC West shootouts. Like it's not what you want. You hope your defense can prevent that, but there is going to be a couple times, whether it's Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert or even Derek Carr at this point, you're just going to end up in one of those games where it's just like you are going blow for blow. We watch it between those other teams all the time the last few years. The
Yeah.
Broncos just weren't invited to that party. So we're talking 400-yard, 4 touchdown games. I think he's good for a couple of those this season. That instantly makes the rest of this way easier.
Yeah. I mean, if he does, but again, that's not his game is the consistency, which is kind of weird to say when it's all about the downfield shots. But so he had a 400-yard game in 2017. He had a 400-yard game in 2019. So that's like two in the last 5 years. Again, could he be totally unlocked? I think there's a chance, but that's if you factor in some of these games where he throws for 370 and runs for 35, then maybe those count as 400. But there's just these little things that eat away at these big numbers. Like there's the reason he hasn't been an MVP in this league is because you look at the 4,000 passing yards to go with 650 rushing yards, and all of a sudden you're in that total production level, but the 4,000 passing yards just isn't flashy. So those rushing yards, I do think just eat at the edges a little bit too much for him to get those 400 yarders. But who knows?
I
Again, like
mean,
this offense could be big.
obviously this is the best season of his career, but if you look at the 2020 season, there's
Mm-hmm.
multiple games that are exactly what I'm talking about. He gets in a shootout with Josh Allen, he throws for
Yep.
390, and he gets in a shootout with Kyler Murray, and he throws for 388. So those are essentially 400-yard games.
Okay.
By the way, some breaking news. here in the NFL world. No, you're not getting another promotion. This is a
Okay,
real one.
I didn't know if this is real.
Um, Baker to the Panthers for a conditional 5th-round pick. Yikes.
That's
Number one overall pick, and the value you get. You had the number one overall pick, and you ended up with a guy who's not playing this year and a 5th-round pick as your return on that player. That is rough.
that is really rough. It's
And the
really rough.
Browns deserve every bit of what is coming to them.
What? That's $18 million in cap that they have to pay. So I mean, it's $18 million and a 5th-round pick, but still, like you expect better than that. Oh, I'm also glad, when I was going through and taking those win totals, I really thought that he was going to wind up with the Seahawks. I think they had the Seahawks at like 5.5 wins or something like that. And I was like, well, if they get Baker, I kind of want to get that over. And I was like, well, they play the Broncos week 1. I can't take that. And so now I'm glad I didn't.
Wow. I'm blown away. What a deal for Carolina. Obviously, I wouldn't change anything for the Broncos, but in an alternate universe where they didn't get Russ, like I would be doing backflips if they made this deal.
Those were some bad times back then.
Yes,
Like
they
before
were.
Russell Wilson, yeah, backflips. And now you look at it, it's like, yeah, I don't really think he's gonna pan out. I think he's just gonna be an average starter. He's better than Ryan Fitzpatrick, but by how much, and I would also have been doing backflips.
Yeah. I mean, we would have been talking like they probably let Teddy walk. It's talking maybe like Sam Howell or something that they got in like the 4th round. And now you bring in Baker, and like I've always been a Baker guy, so I'm telling everyone all the great things about Baker, which again I think he's going to end up being a pretty damn good Carolina Panther. One of the things that happens in the NFL, and I think it's so crazy, is someone like Baker gets hurt. And it's not a bad enough injury to sideline you for the whole season. So you come back and you play through it and you play worse because you are hurt. And then everyone just decides that's the player you are now. And I think I think they'll, if anyone should not do that, it's the organization itself. And I think the Browns 100% fell victim to thinking Baker Mayfield was the quarterback that he was when he was hurt and not the quarterback that, got them out of their insane playoff drought, took them from a team that had won, 1 game or 2 games in 2 years or something like that, got them all the way to the playoffs. Like that, Baker Mayfield is a legit quarterback in my opinion, and he might not be the guy to take you to the promised land, but he is not, a trade for a conditional 5th because you messed up the relationship with him.
Totally. And I mean, you have to give him a bit of a bump because he's with the Browns. Like everything's gonna go bad when you're with the Browns. So it's like he shows up and goes 6-7. It's like, yeah, whatever. Next year,
Matt Stafford, like everyone thought Matt Stafford was just blah. It's because he was with the Lions for his whole career. Then he leaves one time and wins the Super Bowl.
Yep. Next year he's 6-10 with 22 touchdowns and 21 interceptions. And you're like, yeah, I mean, why not? Next year they give him a running game and he's fine. So we'll see, I guess. I mean, better than Teddy. Definitely better than Teddy.
Yes. So what do the Panthers have?
For like
quarterback,
players?
Sam Darnold.
Who did they draft? I thought they got one of those later guys. Yeah, I can pull it up.
Oh gosh. Did they get Sam Howell? No, that's Washington football team.
That's right. Matt Corral. Yeah, it's Matt Corral.
Oh, yes. In the corral.
Shout out to Lexi for that one.
Hey, thanks, Lexi.
Yep.
All right. Well, we still have one more Russell Wilson stat to get to. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery. We got to get down to the farmhouse here soon. It's actually like an elite summer hangout spot in Colorado. You just got to make a day of it. Like, oh, I'm going to the farmhouse today. And like you go, they've got bags out there in the back. They've got, giant Jenga. They've got all that good stuff. And of course they have all of their fantastic beers, like sitting on their little back porch, watching the sunset, drinking a strawberry sky, throwing some bags. That is a night. and I think we're planning on doing something special over there. It's not official yet, so I don't want to
Ooh.
spoil anything, but I think we will be heading over there. So check out our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery, and if you don't live here in Colorado or near the brewery itself, just use the Breck Brew locator to find out where the nearest Breck Brews are to you.
Also, DraftKings Sportsbook. We've been talking about all these bets. I feel like this whole thing is just an ad for DraftKings Sportsbook, so it's a little weird we're doing this. But yeah, bet all of these things. I wished. Here's what I was just thinking. I wish they had Matt Corral lines. I would love to take just like Matt Corral to throw like 4 touchdowns or wherever you have to set that line, because I do think that they're going to find a way to get him in this year. But that's beside the point. If you don't want to make future bets that take months and months to pay out, right now you can bet on golf or MMA, or there's a soccer tournament going on, or baseball. I always forget that baseball even exists. Yeah, so get over to DraftKings Sportsbook. It's an awesome spot. You can make the same game parlays. You can bet on spreads or props or whatever. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code DMVR. Make your first deposit. You'll get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code DMVR only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only, new customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
All right. Also, you got to check out the American Raptors. Speaking of like a good thing to do on a summer day, go down to Infinity Park and watching some rugby. Even if you're not a rugby fan, like kids get in free. It's a nice day to just spend in the sun. And I feel like when you watch rugby, you'll come away being like, yeah, that's a cool sport. I enjoyed that very much. It's so physical. It's almost like a mix between like football and MMA. Like that's how physical it is. Um, so you got to go down there, check it out. The American Raptors is a pretty cool thing that they have set up. They're taking athletes from different sports, all sorts of different backgrounds, and saying, hey, maybe you didn't make it to the highest level at your sport, or maybe you did, but you couldn't stick around. Why don't you come play rugby? Obviously, not all the time the best athletes in America are joining rugby, so they're saying like, hey, let's get some of the best athletes and maybe help us compete for a World Cup one day. So check out the American Raptors down there at Infinity Park. Have a great time. All right, we've got a super chat
Yes.
and I want to answer it. How's the Days Inn by Wyndham Denver downtown on East Colfax? Booking my trip for week 1. I love Denver. I love Colfax. I probably wouldn't stay at like a ish hotel, or like maybe like a motel. I don't know what Days Inn is categorized as on East Colfax. Just being honest.
That's reason, unless you're just living at the DMVR bar. But that looks like that's East Colfax. Well,
Yeah, I'm looking at the reviews right now. A couple 2-star reviews here. This person says, I'm not sure it would pass the mom test. As in, like, would your mom be
yeah,
cool staying here?
I think that's a good way to put it. I'm also in
Also,
these
I'm
reviews. I
not even
love these.
convinced that this hotel still exists. Didn't they just bulldoze one like on East Colfax?
There is something that was bulldozed. I don't know what
I
it was
thought
before,
it
but
was
there is a
definitely a hotel motel sort of thing.
really.
Yeah.
Oh, the room is adequate, clean, and pleasant. Negatives are many, however. No breakfast at all. Our coffee machine is still broke, I was told. There was no hot water in the morning. The longer I let the water run, the closer. Yeah. It doesn't seem like
Okay,
people are in love with it.
I recognize this spot. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, the area is fine. Um, I would just say the pictures I'm seeing here. It's gonna be a no for me. It's gonna be a no for me.
That's probably, yeah. Oh, we got some comments. Looking for walking distance to DMVR. LOL, never
Yeah,
mind. Okay.
I mean, there's better spots. There's better spots. I feel like if you're the type of person who doesn't care at all about like where you stay, or like I don't know if you're coming with like a significant other, if they care or not, I think you'd be fine, but you're not gonna like. I don't think you're gonna like your your spot if you stay there.
That's probably fair. I don't. Yeah, I've stayed in some bad hotels. I'd be fine with it, but
I have two. I have two. I've only stayed in one ever that I legitimately wanted to leave like as soon as I possibly could. Um, but I this one is definitely not that bad. I would just maybe move a little more towards downtown.
it's weird that there aren't many closer.
It's true.
Just there aren't more. There aren't many by the bar. People don't want to visit Colfax.
Like I said, I like Colfax. Like I enjoy Colfax. I think it has a lot of actual like soul to it.
It does have soul.
But I
Yeah,
just
I'm
don't
not
know if I
finding
would want
many
to stay
hotels
on
nearby.
in a motel on Colfax.
That's probably fair. Ooh, pop the tent up if you have to. That's a good call from Alden.
That is a good idea. All right, let's get to this last stat here, which is I got logged out. Hang on. Uh, interceptions. Did you put this in your line when you were making your predictions?
I did. I was really torn. I I decided on 9. I was thinking 10 is probably a better bet.
Whew, man, a well set line here. The line is 10.5.
I guess I'm under.
I
I'm
guess
happy with
you
the
are.
under. Yeah,
That's
I've got to stick
probably
with my stuff.
that's probably a stay away for you if we're being honest.
Yeah,
Like you're not betting that if you're a half interception away from what you think is going to happen.
yeah.
Um, but hang on, let me get back to the stats here. You kind like betting on Jesus, I can't find it anymore. Betting on Russell Wilson to have single digit or 10 interceptions is not a bad bet.
There is that one more game now, though.
Yep. And the big thing for me, Henry, is I talk so much about how I think his passing production is going to go up and he's going to pass the ball so much more.
Yep.
And with that, I just have to accept that there will be more interceptions. Like it would be homerish or whatever you want to call it of me to be like, yeah, he's going to pass the ball a bunch more. His touchdowns are going to go up, his yards are going to go up, but no, his interceptions are going to stay the same or go lower. Like that's not fair. That's not right. So I think he probably goes over on this. Again, in that year that he threw 40 touchdowns, he threw 13 interceptions. It's the highest of his career. And that was, also the highest yards of his career. So it kind of goes with what I'm saying. You throw more, you're going to get more touchdowns. You're also going to get more interceptions.
At the same time, it's gone under 7 of the 10 times. You also have that one more game, and that could swing a couple. But yeah, that probably makes sense. The other way to look at it, I guess, though, is that if it's kind of insurance, right? Where if he's not throwing the ball a lot or he does miss 3 games at some point, that under can kind of save you from some of those other overs.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so you could bet all 3. You could bet over, under.
Yep.
And then you at least have, like, you do have an insurance policy. If something bad happens, I'll touch wood again. And if he has the best, if he throws for 40 touchdowns and 9 interceptions and has the best year of his career and wins MVP, well, then, you triple cash in. And for me, I would quadruple cash in because I already have a Russell Wilson for MVP ticket.
I was just going to ask you about that. What are those odds?
Let's see what it is now, and I'll also go back. I don't remember what I got it at, so I'll go back to it. MVP. Russell Wilson currently ranks 7th at plus 1,400. Players in front of him include Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, that's a joke, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Josh Allen.
I hope we don't get clipped for that. That's a joke at some point. But
9-win Herbert gonna go win MVP.
I love it. I was hoping that you would get better odds. I thought maybe like the plus 2,500 range would be a good spot. But because again, like he doesn't necessarily play
He's
MVP
never even gotten an
football.
MVP vote.
Exactly. Because like he's going to just put together like well-rounded stats, have some rushing yards, eat away at some of the passing stats. I don't know. It's a bad bet. I'll say that. It's a bad bet. I might do it anyway though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And I actually got it at worse odds. I got it at plus 1200. And I assume that's just because it was like right after the Broncos
Yeah.
acquired him. And so they're just like, oh, we're going to lower all these markets because people are going to take them anyway. And I fell right
Yep.
for that trap. Other futures I have in my slip currently, which I only have three. It's Russell Wilson for MVP. It's Colorado Rockies over 68.5 regular season wins.
What's the pace?
They are exactly 81 games in,
Yep.
and they are on pace for 70.
Whew. That's I mean that's as close as it could be. I guess 68 would be closer than 68.5, but that's
Yeah, it's a little scary, especially because they got off to a good start. And speaking of their good start, when they got off to their good start, I was like, I wonder like if they've changed the odds at all for them to win the NL West. Well, they hadn't, so I
mm,
just sprinkled a little something on that at plus 10,000. I was like, I just have to do this, like in case something crazy happens. I want to win 100 times my money.
I guess that's reasonable, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, 100 to 1. Come on, it's worth
Never
throwing a
turn that
little
down.
something. Yeah, exactly. Or just do always.
Yeah,
But
always.
then you wouldn't have had Leicester City to win the Premier League, and what are you gonna do?
I guess there's that.
That would. The thing is, if you hit one in your life, it probably covers all the other ones you take.
Totally. I
But
mean, if it's 100 to 1, you just got to do it. You need 1 in 100 to hit. Really 1 in 101.
it's true. Yeah, and like, are you really gonna make 100 of those bets? Like, if you just like, if I just bet the Buffs to win the national championship every year, I'm not gonna live long enough to bet it 100 times. I just need the one.
That is true. You'd also be getting better than 100 to 1 odds.
I don't even think they really ever give out better than 100 to 1 odds on like one single thing.
Let me see. I'm curious.
I bet you they don't even list Colorado to win the national championship on there.
I think you can get just about anybody. Oh, let's see.
College football team futures. Oh yeah, there it is at plus 100,000.
Yeah, you can get Colorado to win the Pac-12 at
So
250 to 1.
so that's 1,000 to 1.
Yep.
You never know, dude. Anything could happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man, 1,000 to 1.
I've got some futures going too.
Or no, is that 10,000? How many zeros do you take off? So if it's
Oh my
plus
goodness.
100, if it's plus 100, you take off 2 zeros. So you take off 2. Um. Okay, so that's plus 1,000. Yeah,
Go with 250 to 1 to win the Pac-12,
that seems more likely.
which is
Wow,
why the
still
odds are
very unlikely.
yeah. There have been worse bets made. I also so my big future, the
I
one that I
wonder what
keep
they were to win the Pac-12 the year that they did it, or I guess to win the Pac-12 the year they made the championship,
you should have done that. Yeah, I
or
mean
like
that
the year that they like the COVID year when they really should have played for it.
yep. I wonder, yeah, the COVID part would make it weird. Like I wonder if they just push everybody together. Like all the
That's
odds just
true.
cuz anything can happen.
That's true. All right, so the wrap up on this is, I guess our expectation for Russell Wilson is 35-ish touchdowns,
Yep.
4150-ish yards,
Yep.
and around 10 or 11 interceptions.
Yep.
If that happens, this season will be so fun.
That's all you can ask for is a fun season.
I know, and like, I always like this doesn't apply to all Broncos fans, but I always say like a championship can like satiate me for 4 or 5 years. Like
Yeah.
I'm like the Abs won, so like I'm even more just like make football fun again mode. Like all I care about is just like smiling on Sundays rather than being like, oh, here we go again.
That's true. That
So
I feel you.
I mean, but and I guess we don't even need, to win all these bets you would need um 32 touchdowns, 4100 yards, I guess 4101. and less than and 10 interceptions. And that would just be like an average season for Russell Wilson. And even that would still be so fun. Like, I'm pretty sure if you combine what Teddy Bridgewater had last year and what Drew Lock had the year before, you don't even get to 32 touchdowns.
Totally. I mean, I don't think they come close.
Because didn't Drew have 16 touchdowns, 19 interceptions 2 years ago?
I think that's right. Yeah.
And then I honestly don't know off the top of my head how many Teddy threw last year.
He had 18 touchdowns.
So there you go, 32. So you
Wow.
combine, like, just essentially double the touchdowns overnight. You made one move.
It's terrible. I went down this rabbit hole now. Oh, 2019, Drew had 7, Joe Flacco had 6.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
How does that even happen?
I
How
have
do
no
you not have a
idea.
quarterback with 10 touchdowns?
Oh, I mean, like, there was also that other year where the Broncos were the only team in the NFL to not have a third receiver go over 300 yards. Or was it
Yep.
400? It might have been 400 yards.
Yep.
Like, the desert that we have been living in is just brutal.
It's been terrible.
It's been rough. All right. Before we move on, I want to tell you about our friends over at, what do we got, Henry? What's next?
We've got we got Colorado Golf, the raffle.
All right. All right.
So
Talk us through that.
So we're going to start by talking about the Colorado Golf Association. Ryan, how many golfers do you think are a part of the Colorado Golf Association?
Oh my goodness. Literally all of my friends are. So that makes it really hard for me to, like.
So at least like 11 or so.
So 4. I'm gonna say 10,000.
70,000.
Wow.
That's a lot. And if
That
you're
is
not
a
one
lot.
of them, you should be, because they're awesome and do a bunch of fun things. You get to have an official handicap. You get access to their GPS tracking and all that sort of stuff. Plus, you get the opportunity to play exclusive courses like Aspen Glen Club, the club at Ravenna, the Pinery, and more.
Yeah, real quick. As a CGA member, I've experienced some of this
Mhm.
stuff. We played down at Perry Park the other day. Like, that's
Yep.
that's a country club that we probably wouldn't have played if it wasn't for the CGA member play day there. They had like a cool event. It's 3 different formats, 6 per hole. Awesome stuff. And then we also played at Cherry Creek Country Club this summer, thanks to the CGA. Again, anyone can do that. They set it all up for you. And then also having the handicap is great, because you should have a handicap if you're betting your friends on the course, and who isn't betting their friends on the course?
Exactly. And right now you can sign up for the raffle. It's a dream golf vacation raffle. The prizes include stay and play packages at Wailea Blue Golf Course in Maui, Whistling Straits, a Naples golf tour, and Palm Beach golf tour, as well as a $5,000 gift card to Bandon Dunes. It's a whole bunch of cool stuff. You got to enter by July 14th. There's early bird prize of a VIP experience at the 2022 BMW Championship. You get to go inside the ropes, walk with the players. And all the proceeds go to the CGA community programs that help kids on course, and Solich Caddy and Leadership Academy, all sorts of different stuff that help kids play golf for cheap in Colorado. So head to coloradogolf.org to get your tickets today.
This probably isn't a good time for my rant about handicaps, but we need to change that system up. We need to change that up.
Yeah.
I was like really good at golf for a 1-month period last summer.
I remember it.
And like, I would call myself decent at golf in all other times of life, but I was really good at golf for 1 month last summer, and now my handicap is just jacked for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I mean, what? You need 20 rounds since then before those are gone.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think it's your 10 best scores in your last 20 rounds.
Oh, that feels more doable for me.
Just got to golf a lot.
Exactly. All I have to do is just play golf every day for like the next month, and I'll just wash out that season last year.
Yep, just be bad.
I mean, I shot 88 yesterday, so I'm well on my way.
All right. I
It
don't
was
know.
windy though. I'm taking that. We do have a comment here
Oh, we do. Okay.
from Samuel Bisu, who says, "Hey guys, a big welcome to Henry to the Broncos beat. I've enjoyed
Thank
listening to
you.
him since his first appearances on the podcast, and I think he does a great job on the draft podcast. Can't wait to read his articles on the website and have his perspective on the show. Just one thing, Hank, are you Team Zach or Team RK when it comes to the Chargers? Please be Team RK. LOL. We don't need 2 of the 3 hosts overrating the Chargers. Yes, that was a problem we had in the last iteration of the show.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I've got a lot of Chargers thoughts. I think first of all, there's a lot of talent on the defense. We'll see what happens there. You know,
Yep,
sometimes you play the high flying offense, and so the defense just kind of gets like worn down. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
that's a
Um,
really good point.
Offensively, like Justin Herbert's kind of in that phase where it's like, is he really, really good, or is he, Philip Rivers, right? And so this year decides that. But it is a little bit scary. I'll say that. Isaiah Spiller is a nasty running back with Austin Eckler, that's for sure. So like they're good. I don't know if they're going to be great. Like I don't think they're a top 5 team. I think that they're, they'll go win their 10 games probably. I don't know what team that puts me on.
I think it puts you somewhere in between us, which makes sense
Oh,
because I think Zach's way too high on them, and maybe I'm too low on them. But it's way more fun to be low on them than high on them.
yeah.
And most of the decisions I make in life are just what's more fun. Um, so I think you're probably in between. My whole
Something
thing
bad
is
will
just
always happen.
my whole thing exactly. And my whole thing is just like, why are we crowning these guys before they've accomplished anything? Like, yes, Justin Herbert
Anything.
is on a crazy pace stats wise, but if he was on a crazy pace stats wise for the Lions, much like Matthew Stafford was, no one cared about it. Everyone was like, oh yeah, this Stafford guy, he can really throw the rock around, and like Calvin Johnson's badass, but no one ever said like they're sneaky Super Bowl candidate. And somehow that happens with the Chargers, even though the Chargers are just the Lions with nicer weather.
That's kind of fair. Yeah, I don't know. This bad things happen to them. Like there's always like they'll get way too many injuries. There'll be some like weird off-field thing that happens. Like it's just I don't know. They
Always something.
couldn't find a way to win a playoff game. They couldn't find a way to get to the playoffs with Philip Rivers and some really talented teams. So I don't know. They've got to
Bro,
prove it first.
they've had Philip Rivers, they've had Dan Fouts. You know, they've had legit players at that position forever. They've had, you could argue they've had more consistent quarterback play than even the Broncos have had. Broncos have had 2 of the best 5 quarterbacks ever. But they had some big down spells in between there. They also had Drew Brees. Like they always have a good quarterback, and that's the hardest thing to get in the NFL. And they've literally never done anything with it.
Yeah, they've gone to the playoffs twice in the last 12 years.
That is embarrassing.
Yeah, it's terrible. They're awful.
And meanwhile, like we've got Justin Herbert as 5th to win MVP.
Yeah, and again, that's one of those where it's like, oh, Drew Lock, sneaky MVP candidate, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
because he is in his 2nd year of football. It's like Herbert, I guess, year 3, but whatever.
Yeah, and the Drew Lock thing, like a lot of people fell for that trap. But even then, DraftKings had him at like 20-1.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not comparing those two. Justin Herbert is in another stratosphere from Drew Lock. But I just that's my big thing is like, look, Justin Herbert is extremely talented. I'm not taking that away from him at all. But the Chargers have just never done anything,
Ever.
and I feel like we're just handing them things that they haven't earned.
At the same time, I do have Derwin James at 35-1 to be Defensive Player of the Year, and also Isaiah Spiller at 35-1 to be Offensive Rookie of the Year.
How many futures do you have?
An entire Avs championship worth. Devontae Adams to lead the league in receiving at plus 1,200.
Insane.
I know. I hate that these are all in the division. I wish I'd pick something else.
I
But
know.
also,
Yeah, you're really locked. You're a big AFC West guy.
best
You
one
should
is
get a hat like What's that guy's name? Rob
Rob
Lowe
Lowe.
War,
Yeah.
but it just says AFC West.
AFC West. Yeah. Packers minus 175 to win the NFC North, though. That is such a lock.
I think it is too. Yep,
Like,
it
what
really
else could
is.
happen? Packers Super Bowl odds are probably a decent bet, too.
Yep. Also, you talked about how you have an entire Stanley Cup worth of future bets.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking it's very fitting that the Stanley Cup is 35 pounds because I gained a Stanley Cup during the Stanley Cup run.
I also did. And I'm about to head to this lake, and I'm going to be drinking, I'm going to be eating. But next week, I'm finally going to get healthy, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. For me, it starts tomorrow. So yeah, I don't want to lose the Stanley Cup. Just want to move it a little bit.
Oh, I just
Yeah.
need to stop adding Stanley Cups.
Yeah, no more. It turns out like watching a hockey game at the highest stress levels every other night is bad for the body in more
With
ways than one.
with 4 beers and a plate of
Yeah,
nachos.
exactly. Well, you can't you can't watch a high intensity playoff hockey game without a little something to take the edge off.
Seriously, yeah, and it was every day for 2 months.
Yeah, it's a lot. So we all
Ugh.
got to. There's a Stanley Cup in all of us.
There is a Stanley Cup in all of us.
All right, he finishes a couple more things here from Samuel Bisou, who
Oh, okay.
carried up the entire comment section today. Question: how many more plays a game do you think the Broncos will have on offense this year compared to last year? Because last year with heavy boxes, we had 2 running
Mhm.
backs run for more than 900 yards. I think with more plays and defenses having to just respect the pass for a change, we can have 2 1,000-yard running backs. What say you? I say no way.
We'll definitely run more plays. We'll definitely see more plays. I
Definitely more
would
plays. I just think they're going to be passes.
uh let's see. I think I took all these down yesterday for the last podcast. What they were 11th in rushing percentage last year. The Broncos were, so like run percentage versus passes. Seahawks were at 45.5% runs, right behind the Broncos at 45.7. Packers were at 42.9. That was 17th.
There
So
you go.
just if we average those three together, you expect a higher percentage of your plays to be passes, but you also look back and the Broncos ran the 27th most plays. Only the Jets,
Yikes.
Jags, Texans, Falcons, and Seahawks ran fewer plays.
Yikes.
That's like 1036. I think that it might be a little bit optimistic to add another 100 plays in, but it's definitely not off the table. And so I do think that if you say 30 more runs and 55 more passes, then all of a sudden that gets both those backs to maybe even give them all to Javonte. Say it's a 233 to 203 split this year. But I do think those numbers go up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think you get 2,000-yard rushers. It's not as if the Packers didn't have good running backs. Like Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon is a great 1-2 punch. And it's probably, I don't know, maybe we overvalue our guys a little bit, but I would say it's probably a little bit below Javonte and Melvin. But
Yeah.
both of those guys, I don't even think they had one hit 900.
Yeah. I think, let's see, I'm pretty sure. So NFL.com, like 2 days ago, maybe put together their best duos at every position in the league.
Okay.
I think at running back, the Broncos were number 2 and the Packers were number 3. So we're
There
not
you go.
crazy for having the Broncos in front.
No. And it almost feels kind of similar to me. Like,
Totally.
you've got the young bruiser and then the wily veteran.
Yeah. I mean, if they 5 yards per carry each on last year's numbers would have done it. So if you can get that to like 4.7 and 220 carries.
If you're averaging 4.7 yards per carry as an offense and you have Russell Wilson, you're going to have the best offense in football.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the season.
All right, he goes on here. One more thing, my opinion on the clown take that Russ being in Europe will affect his play in September is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And this man wanted Jared Bednar fired this playoffs. This guy goes for the lowest common denominator, takes questioning the work ethic of a guy that travels to Europe with his shoulder pads and a helmet. Sorry for the rant. Thank you for giving us some sane takes and great shows, even if it is the off season and there is nothing going on. There sure isn't. Um, I can't remember the last time something like there was actual Broncos news.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while.
I
I
mean,
can't
it
think of
would have
any.
just been like anything that happened in OTAs would have been the last news. But like since that ended, or since minicamp ended, there's been literally not a peep of anything.
Not even just like moving somebody at the end of the roster.
Yeah, or like someone had a funny tweet.
Tweets have been bad.
Got some standard Russell Wilson tweets. I think he tweets more than anyone on the Broncos. Just kind of crazy to say.
I think he does. I think
Like,
he definitely does.
but it's probably because
Nick
he has like a social
Bonito.
media team.
Nick Bonito's been all over Twitter. He's had
Really?
some bad takes. It's
I
been
saw him like being an Abs fan at one point. I liked that.
yeah. No, I mean the worst one was saying Embiid should have been MVP.
Oh yeah, he walked that back. I think.
He would have to.
I think he said like, "Damn, didn't realize that was gonna like make people so upset. My bad," or something like that.
Tough to see that one coming. Yeah, Nick Bonito's a big tweeter. I guess there's a lot of retweets. There was one more, I think maybe Avs related one that I didn't like. Maybe it was Jokic again.
Oh,
He's been pretty positive on the Avs.
Jose chimes in. He's kind of our statistician on the show. He says Jones had 779 yards. AJ Dillon had 803. I think the Broncos can do better than that, but there's a big gap between that and 2,000-yard rushers. I think you're going to see two guys in the 900s.
Definitely. I mean was that what it was last year? That was what was last year, I believe.
Yeah.
And I mean last year Broncos were 8th in yards per carry, the Packers are 15th. Like you see them moving up from 8th. That's tough to move up from, but I guess with a better offense in general, they move up a little.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be so interesting because we're really just guessing on what the offense is going to look like. Like, there's a chance that the whole time Nathaniel Hackett was there, he was like, "Man, LaFleur throws the ball too much."
Totally.
Or there's a chance he's like, LaFleur runs the ball too much.
There are a lot of
we
things.
have Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see kind of what the offense looks like. I cannot wait. In the thing that sucks about these, like when it's this, we will not know until week 1. Like even when we watch every single training camp practice, we will still have no idea what the offense is going to look like week 1 because everything is so situational there. They're not like calling simulated games, which is what I would do. Were you here when I had that rant?
I don't think so, no.
For me, practice is stretch, warm up, scrimmage. That's the only thing we're practicing all year.
I could get behind it.
I just watch these guys do drills, and I'm like, this is the biggest waste of time. Like, Russell Wilson is just playing with Patrick. This is doing nothing for anyone.
There are some of them that seem like they aren't that helpful. But yeah, like, see the pass rushers work on the bend and like some of those moves.
Okay, that kind of stuff. That to me, that's like part of the warm up. Like, you warm up doing like maybe the pass rushers are bending and the inside linebackers are tackling dummies and like the quarterbacks are throwing into the net. Like that takes up 30 minutes, and then the rest of the practice is just a scrimmage. It doesn't have to be like a full thing. Like you could maybe do situational someday, but there's way too much not playing football at football practice.
Well, what about 7-on-7s?
I don't see the point. Why would you not just go 11-on-11?
It's good work for the receivers and the corners. More space.
If there's an actual pass rush.
Better work for the quarterback, maybe.
Yeah, just better work for the offense as a whole.
Okay, I guess I'm sold.
I like you're not willing to fight against it, so you're like, I might as well just.
I don't know what's in Nathaniel Hackett's brain, and I can't even guess. So I guess I'll give you the nod on this one.
I think that like drills just became a thing in sports like long ago, and everyone's just like, yeah, you got to do drills.
You do drills. It's what you
I
do.
think you just got to play like. No one says like. I guess some people would say this, but like you don't get better at. I don't know. You just the best way to get better at something is by doing it.
What about going to the driving range and golf? Going
That's a
working on your
warm
chips.
up.
That's you.
I
You can't just take a day and go work on your chipping.
To me, like working on your chipping would be like doing red zone work in
Hmm.
uh in practice. Like you're still going 11 on 11. You're still like, you know, um you're just practicing when you're closer. But
Okay.
golf is one that I definitely don't practice enough, and maybe I should be doing more drills.
Maybe we got to get you on some drills. Hit Spencer and Mitch up.
I might go to City Park today and run some drills on the putting green.
That's a good way to spend an afternoon.
Bring some cones out there.
I I don't know that you bring cones out in public
The whistle.
to whistle at yourself.
I feel like
I don't
those are
think
the
you need a
two.
whistle to communicate with yourself.
Just like every time you make one, you blow the whistle. It's positive reinforcement for the brain.
So then, like before you putt the ball in a real golf, you whistle.
Yeah, we should stop this podcast here.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in so much. Hit us with a like on YouTube on the way out. Subscribe to the channel. You can sign up for alerts. There's all sorts of great things you can do over there, and you don't want to miss any shows. So become, or I guess subscribe to the channel. Thanks to all the members. Thanks for the comments. Zach, we miss you. I know they're saying that in the comments.
Mhm.
But we will see you guys tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.